Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am Brenda Dentinger from BIOPAC, and I will be your moderator on today's webinar, Adding the Power of Scent to Your Research. We have a new modular scent delivery system, and we are going to talk about that today, and we're going to show you how to set it up and how to integrate it with your other physiology data. It's going to be a very cool webinar. Before we dive in, I have some housekeeping. All of our attendees are muted, so please submit your questions and comments through the GoToWebinar control panel. That's how you communicate with me, your moderator. If the webcam is turned on like it is now, and if it looks small or too large to you, you can just grab that little gray bar right there and resize it so you can see what we're showing. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll send each of you a link once the recording is processed. And finally, we will have a survey at the end of the webinar. We'd love to hear your feedback and ideas for future webinars. Now on to our presenter. Today we have Frazer Findlay, the CEO of BIOPAC. Frazer has over 20 years of experience in the life sciences and physiology monitoring industry. Frazer oversees the development of physiology data collection and analysis products and is a well-regarded expert who presents workshops all over the world. Welcome, Frazer.
Hey, good morning, Brenda. Thank you for the introduction.
Great. I just made you presenter, so take it away.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, thanks, Brenda. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome everyone to our webinar today. Before I start, I have a little background information about BIOPAC. BIOPAC develops high-quality scientific tools that allow you to measure physiology anytime, anywhere, with any subject. We've been in business for over 30 years, and 99 of the top 100 universities use our products. And BIOPAC has been cited over 41,000 times. So as Brenda mentioned, this morning's webinar, we're going to be looking at the new scent delivery system that we've introduced. This is the SDS200 We're going to look at the different elements of the system, learn how to add olfactory stimulation to an experiment using the SDS200 in conjunction with an MP160 system. We'll also look at other options for integrating with other systems, including virtual reality, visual stimulation, eye tracking, etc. We'll talk about the methods for optimizing the setup to ensure that you get optimal results when using the system. And then we'll run a couple of short experiments where we deliver stimuli and record responses. And in the demonstrations, we're actually going to be collecting electrodermal activity, ECG, heart rate, respiration, and respiration rate. And then finally, we'll take a look at combining olfactory stimulation with other types of stimulation. Okay, so one of the demonstrations, the last one that we get to today, will basically combine eye tracking and stimulus presentation with the delivery of olfactory stimulation. So on the left-hand side, you can see the physiological data that was collected from a participant. I'm just going to put my wand tool on. So over here, we've got respiration, the top signal, ECG, electrodermal activity, and then these two signals here are coming from the scent delivery system. So 2 scents were delivered to the participant, and then we've got heart rate calculated from the ECG at the bottom. And then over on the right, this is one of the images that were presented to the participants. We were tracking their eyes, where they were looking, and this is just one of the options. This is showing a heat map from the participant. So here we're combining physiology, eye tracking, visual stimulus presentation, and also the scent delivery system as well. So we'll get to that a little bit later on, but I just wanted to give you guys some sense of what we're going to be presenting. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to hand you back over to Brenda just for our first audience poll of the day.
Great, thanks, Frazer. All right, everyone, we do these polls so that we can, just hear back from you and hear from the audience what you're interested in, and if you're currently using scent in your research. That's a good first poll question. Is this being currently used in your research? Looks like some results are coming in. Thank you. And then while we do our polls, we sometimes ask questions. I don't have a ton of questions right now, Frazer, but I know Dr. Murphy in the registration provided a registration question, and she asked, I know you're going to cover this, so I just want to mention you're going to cover the extraction details and efficiency. A lot of people asked about the cost of the system. We're not going to cover the cost here, but at the end, I'll show you how to get to your account manager, and we'll have your account manager follow up with you. Let's see what else here. Oh, support. Yeah, some people asked how we support our customers. We have a awesome support team, and they will help you figure out how to set this up for your projects. So definitely don't be shy about reaching out to our support department. Okay, well, it looks like 32% of people are using scent in their research, 21% no, and 47% hope to in the future. Great, thanks all for participating, and back to you, Frazer.
Great, thanks, Brenda. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Okay, so let's get my display organized. Okay, so the following images will show parts of the system, and the MP160 that is being used in today's demonstration will control the delivery of the stimuli, controls the scent modules, and then we'll look at pictures of the different elements so you get a better idea of how everything comes together and what's included with the complete setup. We've also got the extraction system, which it sounds like someone was asking questions about. The extraction system is actually part of the package. So not only do you get the ability to deliver the scent to the participant, but you also get an efficient way of eliminating the odor from the participant area after the scent has been delivered. Okay, so scents are used in many different application areas. I've just listed a few here. Obviously sensory testing is an important one: memory, stress, emotion, and consumer insights. With the nature of the system that we've developed, with it being highly modular, it's possible just to use one of the modules to deliver a background scent, even just for relaxation portions of an experiment. So it's definitely very flexible. It's suitable for the different application areas that we've mentioned. And if you've got a specific project in mind, we'll always help you with advice and recommendations with regards to the equipment and setup, and as far as possible, best practices for using the equipment as well. So the complete system is made up of a number of different elements. There's the actual module itself that delivers the scent. There's a solid state driver, which everything connects to. That's essentially going to provide the triggers from the MP160 to the modules themselves. There's the carbon filter, which is the extraction system that I just mentioned. And then we've got some accessories that come with it that make it easy to manage the delivery or the delivery point of the different scents. So the system, the scent modules themselves, they have two modes of operation. You can use them with either a wet, excuse me, either a wet scent or dry. So we recommend using the dry scents. The dry scents is a much broader range of scents available for them. They're essentially the size of a tea bag, and they just drop into the bottom of the chamber. And if I put my pointer back on, so down here, this is the bottom of the chamber. The tea bag or the scent pouch clips in just here. And then this third module here, you can see there's some water in there. There you can just use essential oils. So if you've got some essential oils that you want to use as part of the study, you can do that. There are pros and cons to the dry and the wet. The wet is very convenient. It delivers a really nice, cool vapor that contains the scent. It works, it's probably easier to manage this option if you're not using the tubing, because you tend to get a little bit of moisture in the tubing when you've used the system. So if you eliminate the tubing, you just get the vapor coming straight out from the exit point here. Each module has a fan. On the back side, there's a power adapter. So the system comes with its own power supply. And then there's the communication port, which connects between the module and the out 8. I mentioned, you know, there are a lot of scents available. This is overwhelming, I know, but I just kind of threw a whole bunch on there to give you some idea of the options. It's also possible to order custom scents. So with these are specifically for the dry scents. And I've noticed recently that even the essential oils, they're coming in a much wider range of scents now. You can get some pretty interesting ones, but I think the dry scents, from a research perspective in particular, you have some more interesting options there. Anyway, we can help you out with that. There's a list on our website of the scents that are available. So the scent module itself plugs into this out 8, and the out 8 provides, it takes the digital information from the MP device or another piece of equipment and basically ensures that you've got the ability to control up to 8 different modules, so completely independent of one another. Or you can use one of the 8 control lines to control the extraction system as well. So I personally run the filter all the time, but you can elect to just modulate when that is turned on and off throughout the course of your experiment. So for me, I let it run. We have a room that's set up where we can have the filter system further away from the participants, so we eliminate some of the noise. It's a fan, so there's going to be some background noise. But I find that just running it all the time allows the participant just to get used to that hum in the background, and sort of just becomes white noise like your HVAC system in a building. You tend not to notice it, but if you really concentrate, you can usually hear that system working. So anyway, either 8 scents or 7+ automatic control of the extraction system. And then this is the extraction system. So again, this part over here that I'm highlighting, this is a carbon filter. This has the fan and the power. There's a regulator, so you can adjust the intensity. There's a long length of tubing, a long hose. that connects to a hood. The tripod and everything comes with the system. So this can be mounted somewhere close to the participant, and this can be run away. This can even be run outside the room. The sound is coming from this part here. It's not loud, but nevertheless, it is creating some white noise in the background. So if you move this further away, you know, the participant will never really hear it. Very, very efficient. These carbon filters last a long time. They work very, very well. You can literally put your nose up against this and you won't smell the residual scent that's being sucked up through the system. So this is just basically an extractor fan with filter, tubing, and this is completely portable. If you've got a permanent setup, you can maybe put this over the top of a suspended ceiling even and have this come out in a completely different area. So everyone's lab is a little different, and we all have our own sort of idiosyncrasies that we have to contend with, but this can actually sit inside the same room. In terms of accessories, there's a manifold that makes it easy to manage the individual scents. In fact, there are two manifolds that will allow you to deliver up to 8 of the scents, not simultaneously, but you know, from the array. This point at the end here, this is the outlet. The tubing from the modules connects on these. These are just caps. The caps are removed. You attach the tubing, and then the scent is coming out this end. On the back side, just over here, and I've actually got one. I'll bring it up on camera. See if I can get my camera up. There we go. So on the bottom here, we've got this mount for a tripod, and the system comes with a tripod. And then this is the outlet, and then the tubing connects to these points here. These caps just pull off, and the scent gets pushed through to the participant. So you can mount this somewhere close to the participant. It usually works better if you've got it, you know, minimal distraction. You could pretty much have it out of their line of sight, and the scent will still get to them. You just have to play to optimize the setup and figure out what's best for you. Okay, so when you set the system up, you want to avoid a situation where you create this Frankenstein's monster with tubing running everywhere, because this is going to intimidate your participant. It doesn't make much, it doesn't take much to add a little anxiety to a participant when they're part of a study, and equipment and instruments, they never help the situation. So try to find a way to run the tubing so that it's less visible to the participant. And then try and manage the way everything is routed back to the modules. The modules can be out of sight of the participant. They can actually be mounted on the floor and hidden away. When the modules turn on, there is a fan that pushes the scent. So there's a little bit of sound there. So the further you have the modules from the participant, the less likely they are to notice that sound. So sort of trying to create a clean area, try and minimize the distraction with the modules and everything else. All of that helps to get a better system set up. And then when you're working with the system, you can determine the point where the typical subject will smell the scent, because dependent upon your setup, how the tubing is running, whether you're even using the tubing, you may not use the tubing, that scent has to hit the participant at some point. So you want to try and account for that, sort of get the timing down. We've done a number of tests in our documentation, we provide typical timing delays from when the trigger is sent to when the participant actually receives the scent that you're intending them to receive. Okay, so I'm going to hand you back over to Brenda for our second poll of the day, and then we'll get into some live setups.
All right, great. Yeah, that was a question about the timing of the delivery of the scent. So I think, you know, offering that documentation and having them read that would be good. All right, thanks everyone. I see your responses coming in. While we're in the poll here, I have several questions from, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but Dr. Sylvienne Delfling. Sorry if I'm butchering that. He asks, I know we can use custom scents, right? You can order custom scents. Can you also use your own scents with the system?
Well, the system will work with wet or dry scents. So the actual container, let me grab one of the scents. Give me 1 second.
Well, we can't see you right now because the poll is open. So give us another second. I'll show you. I'll let you know when the poll's closed.
Okay, perfect.
And almost there. We got another 10 seconds before we close the poll. If anybody else wants to vote, now's your chance. Lots of people doing consumer insights, about a third doing emotional states, smaller amount doing stress and memory, and another third doing sensory testing. So, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, Frazer, so she can show the scent packet now. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks for participating, everyone.
So this is one of the packets. Like I said, the best way I can describe it, it's almost like a tea bag. You've got a mesh bag with little pellets inside, and then the pellets have the scent on them. Each bag comes in a sealed container. So once you take it out of the container, it will lose the strength, the scent. And we just place that inside the chamber. So if you're using dry scents and you can come up with an arrangement like that, no problem at all. If you're using the essential oils, then you just apply a couple of drops of the oil into the water in the chamber. And in those instances, it's sort of add to smell. You just got to kind of test it a little bit to see how strong the aroma is. But you know, whether you're using the oil-based, water-based, or the dry, it really doesn't matter. If you've got a way of getting the scent in there, you shouldn't have a problem. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with the presentation. Hopefully that answered the question. So we've got I have a number of demonstrations lined up because it's a little bit tricky to demonstrate scent. There's nothing really for you to see when it's running. A lot of it is on the setup side. So the participant for the first demonstration is yours truly. I'm the subject. And in both instances, my colleague and I are wearing the bionomatics transmitters. So again, this little module down in the right-hand corner here, this is the transmitter part that is worn by the participant. So this particular one is for pulse and electrodermal activity. We're also wearing one for respiration and ECG. You'll see in the presentation the signals and everything else, but I realized I didn't actually show in the video what the person was wearing. I talk about it, you see part of it, the receiver part, but you don't actually see the part that the participant's wearing. So these are our bionomatics wireless devices. It will also work with our tethered equipment as well. So I'm going to, okay, so this is the setup we're going to be using for the first demonstration. I thought it was important to give you a clear view of how I've got everything connected here. It's a little bit challenging when we're trying to do everything from one monitor. Typically, I'm running 2 monitors, and it makes life a whole lot easier. But anyway, in this case, I've got everything set up on a table. Typically, I would want to have this equipment further away from the participant. They really don't need to see any of this, but this serves our purposes for the demonstration. So on the far left-hand side, we have the Out8 module. That's the unit that controls the digital channels. That connects to the STP100C, which is this device in the middle with the row of connectors. Collectively, this is the MP160 system. This is going to be used for recording the physiological data from the participant and also for controlling everything. And then the modules, scent delivery modules on the right-hand side, I've got 3 of them in sequence. They are connected to the Out8, and then the tubing from the module is connected to the manifold. And I've got this set up so the manifold is right in front of me, mounted on the tripod. If I rotate the camera around, we'll get a better view of that. So the manifold is situated right here. This can be placed anywhere really. You can come from the side. It can be completely out of the participant's field of view. I just mounted it here because it was convenient for me. Okay, so one of the things to remember here, this gets back to what I was talking about.
Okay, Frazer, can you switch your mic back to the other spot?
One of the things that I mentioned earlier is how you mount all of this. The system comes with a tripod to accommodate the tubing, but this can be put in a more permanent position. This could be completely out of sight of the participant. When I'm sitting down, all I'm really looking at, if I'm the participant, I can just see this part of it here, and that's it. But again, this could be off screen, doesn't have to be visible to the user. These modules, I would not recommend having right next to the participant. They could literally be on the floor. I put them up here for the purposes of recording. And then the MP160 and the Out8, they do not have to be there either. The technician really wants to have access to a lot of this equipment, and the participant really, they don't need to see or have access to it. Really, all the participant typically has in front of them is a monitor or something that they're going to be using as part of the test. Anyway, so that's the physical setup. So now let's take a look at how we set everything up to record the data. Okay, so this is how we set the entire system up. I'm using the media function within AcqKnowledge. So this would normally be used to capture the video of the participant while you're running the experiment. But I'm just using it to highlight the equipment setup for this first part of the recording. So I've added in 2 of these bioinformatics modules. These are our wireless recording devices. I'm wearing a transmitter. Actually, I'm wearing 2 transmitters. One is recording ECG and respiration. The other one is set to record electrodermal activity. Enabled 2 modules. It's really easy to do that. You just come in here, add new module, and then you pick from the list of devices that we have available. If you're using our tethered amplifiers, the smart amplifiers, if you've got any amplifier connected, the system will detect and identify the type of amplifier that you're using. Now you'll notice that 3 of these channels are checked off. Those are the 3 that are being used by the bioinformatics over here. So RSPEC is respiration and ECG receiver, that's what's connected. And PPG, pulse, and ED
A, electrodermal activity. So this module will allow you to record pulse and EDA, but because I'm recording ECG and respiration, I'm just recording one of the two channels. And hit the start button. And it's just reminding me to make sure I've got the devices turned on. Now the top red waveform is looking at respiration. Second channel is ECG. And the bottom channel, if I auto scale that, is looking at electrodermal activity. Okay, so I just went quiet there for a moment just so that we could see a more rhythmic pattern of breathing. So a couple of other things that we can do here. Auto scale this as well. So we've got a nice clean ECG, and we can change the color of any of these channels if this color is not showing up particularly well. So now easy to change the color. But pretty much everything is set up, ready to go. Electrodermal activity is already calibrated and scaled. So we're looking somewhere between 6.5 and 8 microsiemen at the moment. And this is skin conductance level. This is not skin conductance response data. So this is the absolute signal that's coming from the palm of my non-dominant hand. Okay, so I went a little quiet there. What I was doing is I turned these two calculation channels on, one for respiration rate and the second one for heart rate. You can see my heart rate. I put the absolute numbers on, so during the recording you get an idea. But you can see the signals are pretty clear. You can see my electrodermal activity changing a little bit over time as I'm doing different things. Respiration rate, the raw respiration signal is nice and clean, particularly while I'm not talking. And then ECG, we've got a nice clean ECG. Now all of this is coming wirelessly from me, so it's very easy to record this data from the participant.
Okay, perfect. So far we've got to...
Hey, can you adjust your mic again, Frazer?
Sorry. Okay, I apologize for that. Yeah, this is the software setup. And of course, once you've set all of this up, you just save it as a template file, and then you don't have to worry about it again. And each time you run the experiment, you basically just open that template and all your settings are there. For this particular experiment that we're going to run, I'm using the manual control. This allows you to add scents randomly throughout the course of an experiment. They're not tied to any form of stimulation. They're just at points where you're ready for the participant to receive the smell. And we do that using the manual control feature within AcqKnowledge. And in the next video clip, we'll see how that plays out. Let's take a look. So this is the same setup that we were just looking at. Now I've opened up the manual control, and AcqKnowledge has 16 digital I/O lines. The out 8 is going to use 8 of the 16. And I just turned the scent delivery on by turning that one channel over here from 0 to 1. That's turned that particular scent module on. Okay, now that's actually running the scent for quite a long time, but I'm sort of exaggerating it to give an idea. Those amongst us that are a little bit eagle-eyed, channel 20, middle of the screen, that is a new channel, and channel 22. Those are showing when the digital lines go high and low, and from there you have a permanent record of the point when the trigger was delivered to start the scent. It's very, very easy to control the scents from within the software. The technician will be doing this.
All right, so we can see now, if I auto scale this, you see the periods where I actually delivered the scent. So this is the more relaxing of the two scents, more pleasant smelling, sort of tropical, coconutty type aroma. And then over here, I auto scale this. Yeah, this is the point the scent was being delivered, which is a long time. You don't need to blast it that long, but just wanted to exaggerate the point a little bit. And then over here, this is the period that I was delivering the diesel smell, which is not quite so pleasant. Anyway, that gives you a quick idea of how we can capture this physiological data coming from me, my respiration, ECG, heart rate, respiration rate, electrodermal activity, the point that the scents were delivered. And this can be done in a pseudo manual way.
So yeah, as I was saying, that can be done in sort of a manual way throughout the experiment. And remember,
Frazer, sorry to interrupt again, but can you adjust your microphone?
I have adjusted that.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like you're a little bit far away, so maybe it'll adjust itself. Sometimes it picks up the volume.
Okay. So you can have up to 8 scents being delivered. I was just delivering 2. We'll get into a little bit of the analysis later on, but there are ways in which we can control the intensity of the scent that's being delivered as well. And in our stimulus presentation system that is built into AcqKnowledge, we can control that. So rather than just having the power line delivering permanently for a set period of time, it will use a modulation technique. So it sort of reduces the intensity of the fan that's actually pushing the scent out there. It reduces the volume of the fan. So if the scent modules are quite close to the participant, they really don't even notice the scents being delivered, which is one of the nice things about that technique. But again, you can see very easily we've got really nice data here. It's very easy to set this up. It's easy for a technician to control everything because everything is controlled through the one user interface. The one thing I didn't do when I was running this, I started off with the webcam on. Normally we would record the participant while we're actually recording the data from them. I didn't for this recording, but there's a media feature up here that allows us to record any part of the experiment. You can have multiple cameras in a room, so you get different angles. So that's another layer that can be added onto this as well. Okay, so that gives us a first demonstration of how the system works using the manual control within AcqKnowledge. I'm going to hand you back over to Brenda for our third poll of the day.
Okay, thanks. And you might want to turn your webcam back on. I'm going to launch the poll. Signals. What other signals are you recording? Oh, I apologize. Something got cut off there. It's actually in the poll. It's just not displaying correctly. And okay, I do see people's votes coming in, so that's good. Okay, So I know a lot of questions here. We'll get to some of them at the end. Let me just see here. Ryan asked, is there a specific chemical odorant that isn't listing? Can those be used? Chemical odorant. I'm not sure if that's different than like a custom scent. It sounds like it would probably just be a custom scent, right? A chemical odorant.
I'm not really sure what the question is, to be honest with you, Brenda.
Okay. Okay. I think he just wants to know if he can do different types of scents, so not the essential oils, but a chemical odorant. So I think we can just follow up with him after this webinar. And then Bernadette has asked questions about odor delivery system. Can it control other potential stimuli during deliveries, like a change in airflow, clicking chambers being opened and closed? And the reason she's asking is because she's wondering if it's compatible with odor ERPs.
Okay, so that's a great question. So yeah, in essence, you've got these digital lines. We're using them to control the scent delivery, but those can also be used to control other devices as well. And then using the trigger point for the onset of the stimulus delivery, you can then use that for an event-related type study. Now, the one thing you have to account for, and AcqKnowledge allows you to do that really easily, is the offset. You know, that length of tubing, when you trigger the fan to trigger the system to start delivering the scent, to the point where the participant actually starts to smell it, you need to account for that. And as I mentioned earlier, we've done different setups, different examples, and we provide timing information, but everyone's setup is going to be slightly different, and it's up to you to figure out what that time is from the point where you can smell it to, or the participant can smell it from the point where it was enabled. Yes, the answer is you can absolutely control other devices, and other devices can control the scent delivery system as well. Works both ways.
Okay, great. So I've closed the poll. Just a lot of people doing ECG and HR, EDA, respiration. We know that this is not all of the signals that you can do, but that we only have 5 answers that we can provide. Some people doing facial EMG, and about a third of people doing facial coding. So thanks everyone for participating. Back to you, Frazer.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to mention there, as Brenda touched on as well, there's a whole range of different signals that can be collected simultaneously with this. I just picked some that are relatively straightforward. They're convenient to use for a webinar such as this. But, you know, we've got apnea, EEG, there's all manner of different signals, and the complexity of your protocol can be really quite elaborate based on the information you're trying to extract from your participant. So this is just sort of a subset, gives you an idea of how the system works and what you're likely to see when you're running the system. So, okay, thanks, Brenda, for handling the poll, and thank you everyone for answering our questions. Okay. And this, the first thing that comes up is the SPS 200 system will integrate with different types of stimulus presentation systems. Basically, anything that can deliver a TTL pulse can be used to drive the system. So if you're using ePrime or SuperLab and you've got their devices, the Chronos or the Stim tracker, they can deliver TTL pulses that can then turn on the system as well. When what I'm going to be demonstrating is the BIOPAC stimulus presentation system, but it really doesn't matter. As long as you've got something with a TTL that can deliver a TTL pulse, you can turn the system on and you can turn it off. Okay, so AcqKnowledge has its own stimulus presentation system that works with eye tracking, and that's what I'm going to show for the next demonstration. And we'll be delivering visual stimuli, tracking the participants' gaze path, and then recording their physiological responses. And then all of this actually can also be done in virtual reality as well. So BIOPAC offers a range of VR and augmented reality solutions that are integrated with our physiological data acquisition and analysis systems, and they provide the environment with feedback from the participant. So you can control things that happen in the virtual world based on the physiological response of the participant. A good example would be if you've got someone standing on a platform and in the virtual world it's being elevated off the ground and the person has a fear of heights, you can track their heart rate, and if you're concerned that it's getting too high, when it crosses a certain threshold, you can lower the platform back down, and vice versa. If you're not getting the response you're looking for, you can keep increasing the height of the platform. And then conversely, so that's physiological data being sent to the virtual world. The flip side of that is knowing and understanding when things are happening in the virtual world. For example, as the elevator or the platform increases in height, you can put an event mark from the virtual reality system that will show up in the physiological recording. So the precise moment something happens, an event mark is sent. And then the system can also be used to trigger the scent delivery system as well. There's different modes. VR doesn't just have to be a solitary experience. We have options for 3D projectors, so you can have sort of small groups experiencing the same environment at the same time. Really, it's quite an elegant way of doing it. You're just using almost regular glasses, and then small group, one person controls everything. Everyone gets the experience together. If you're delivering the scent, the group will smell the scent as a group. It will just be delivered to the environment for them. So options there. Let's take a look at a demonstration of the system in use. I'm going to show you this demonstration a little bit out of sequence. I'm going to show you the point that we're running the experiment with the participant. So a little bit different to the other two.
Yes, I'm starting.
So in this case, this is our stimulus presentation system, and this is the technician's view. You can have multiple views of the system, and I'm just going to pause this right here. So the technician is looking at the participant. We're doing eye tracking, so they get a view of the participant's eyes, and if you look carefully, you can see, if I turn my pointer on, where'd you go? So if you look carefully, right over the pupils, you can see a green cross. The green cross is the eye tracker detecting the pupil, and then it doesn't really show up that well in this particular image, but there are two smaller crosses, and those crosses are identifying the reflection from the eye. So there's actually 3 crosses per eye. Over on the left-hand side here, we can run dual monitors. Excuse me. So there's the monitor that the participant will receive the stimulation from, and then there's the technician's monitor, and the two people receive different displays. The person that's participating in the study. They just receive the presentation that you want them to receive. The technician sees everything. They see the eye tracking, they see the stimulus that's being delivered, they see the physiological data. So they get sort of the world view, whereas the participant is getting just the part that you care about. Carry on from here. So the next thing we're doing is calibrating the system. So the participant focuses on the green circles that appear on the screen, and in the center of the circle there's a red dot. And again, if I just pause this, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, if you look carefully in these green circles, you'll see two crosses, blue and purpley color. Those are the eyes hitting the target. So when you do your calibration, this is a 5-point calibration. You can increase the number of points. You're looking to make sure that the crosses, actually there may even be hourglasses, appear right inside the circle. Once you're happy, you can then accept, and then the system is now switching over to the stimulus presentation. Now again, this is the participant's view. So what we're looking at here, these are some areas of interest that I just marked in there. This particular point in the recording, the participant is just seeing the truck in the field, and they can see the diesel fumes, exhaust fumes coming out of the truck, and we're presenting the smell of diesel at this point. So all of this is happening, and if you look carefully, you can see the gaze path as the person is looking around at the image. Now here we're delivering sort of a coconut kind of tropical type scent to align with the image of the beach. So this is the technician's view. This is the sort of the person that's running the experiment, controlling it. I was running the experiment, and one of my colleagues, Connor, very kindly volunteered to be the subject. And I'm going to call up AcqKnowledge, and we can take a look at the data now. Okay, so this is the data that was collected during that recording. You can see there are event marks along the top. Some of these are marking when a new image was presented. Some of them are telling us when an area of interest was hit. This is showing the gaze path. I can click anywhere in the physiological recording and it will take me to the image the person was seeing at that moment in time. Again, this is just the gaze path. So if I hit play, down at the bottom, there's a little play button. The system will play back the gaze path. So this was that truck we were looking at. And these are just focus points. So we're just trying to make sure that the person is focused on there, and you can control how long the person has to focus on the cross before the next image is presented. Now this is a really, really simple experiment, 2 images, 2 scents, but everything was controlled through the one user interface. We can call up different images. So if we want to look at this, this was actually the screenshot effectively that I showed before. This, just a simple heat map. You can control the intensity of the map so that, you know, I've got this blown up a little bit to exaggerate it, but you can desensitize that a little bit. Now, one of the nice things with the system is you've got this physiological data. line 20 over here and line 22, these are the points when the scent delivery system was kicked in. And if you notice, you can see there are pulses. So rather than delivering a constant stream, we're just pulsing the scent. And you can control this from within the stimulus presentation system, and I'll show you that in a moment. So this reduces the sound, it reduces the intensity, it gives you a lot of control over how that scent is being delivered to your subject. Now, just along the top, if I just highlight an area of data, for example, I've got some measurements here that I can pick from. So I can say, okay, well, let's change this to mean heart rate and make sure I'm on the right channel. So heart rate, get the mean heart rate. I can look at the mean skin conductance level, EDA, mean. I'll get the change in heart rate, and I'll get just a delta time, and I'll turn this one off. I can turn a journal on. So a journal allows us to take notes and add measurements down. Oops. And I can paste those measurements from the top here. If I go into preferences, I'll make some quick changes there. I'll include the measurement name, the measurement units, and the channel number. And I'll delete that out of there, and I'll do the same thing again. So now we've got a record of the responses from the first image that was presented, and I can come along and do the same for the second image. Now, obviously, this is not really a scientific study. You would have more images, more scents being delivered. You'd probably randomize the way they were being delivered to the participant, be more control. There would be controls in there as well. But this kind of gives you an idea of how we can do it. You can do a full analysis of the electrodermal signal, so you can identify when skin conductance responses occurred. You can count the number of skin conductance responses within a period of time or over the period that the image is presented. And all of this can be done automatically through the analysis. So under electrodermal activity, we can locate all the skin conductance responses. We've also got heart rate variability. So if you're interested in doing HRV, you can do that statistically. You can do that time series based on the respiration and ECG intervals, and then you can do full spectral analysis on there as well, both over manually selected periods or binned over time periods. And it can be triggered, all of these analyses can be triggered off of the events that were presented. So there's a lot of analysis that can be done within the software. It's easy to get at some interesting information. I'm going to come over here. These are the areas of interest that were added. Remember, I showed you these when we were looking at it from the technician's view. One of the nice things about the integration within AcqKnowledge, I can come over and I can add some different physiological measures. So if we look closely, this red area of interest is labeled people. So this area of interest, the average skin conductance level while the person was looking at this particular part, this particular area of interest was 11 microsiemen. For the trees, this part of the island or beach, they were focusing in that area, or they were hitting that target for 4.5 seconds. They had 12 fixations over that area. And the first hit was 1.6 seconds in, and we can see that their average skin conductance level over that time, just the average for the time that they were on that period, was 10.8, and the heart rate was 57.8 beats per minute. And then the same for the water. So easy to extract the physiological measures. There's a really elegant report that you can pull out. It's going to run the report quickly. This will drop everything down into Excel. I realized I didn't enable the fixation sequence, but oh well. Okay, so this is the cross that was delivered. We've got the truck background, the fumes, and the truck. These were the areas of interest. There's our EDA and heart rate measures. This is the information, the number of entries to that area of interest, the time of first entry, the minimum dwell time, the maximum dwell time. Same for the second one. So there's a lot of really rich information that we're able to pull, and we're doing all of that with the olfactory stimulation as well. So really easy to combine all these elements within one user interface. Now lastly, I just want to show you, if I open sorry, wrong one. If I open, so this is the stimulus presentation system. This is the part that I didn't really show you before. This is how you set it up. These are the stimuli that were being used. So this is the cross, this is the image, this gives us a preview. Then we have all these controls over here that allow us to determine how long the image will remain on the screen. An event mark was presented the moment that image was delivered. You can run a second stim. So let me come over to this one. So this was the truck. You'll notice I've got this option here, second stim. This is the second stim, and this is turning on digital channel 0. So when this image is presented, simultaneously, digital channel 0 went high, and it was held high for 6 seconds. I held it high for a long time. But you can control the pulse interval. So remember, I was showing you the pulsing, and we can control the duty cycle. So this allows us to control the intensity of the scent that's being delivered. And then this is the sequence. You can do a dry run. So if you just want to test the system before you go live. So this was that cross. Then we get to the truck. Back to the fixation cross, and then our tropical beach. So adding the stimuli, whether it be in the form of visual or olfactory, can all be handled through the stimulus presentation system that's built into AcqKnowledge. These are licensed features within the system. We're just about to come out with 5.0.7. It's in 5.0.6, but there's new functionality going into 5.07 as well. What I'm showing you today, this software is 5.07, but that's actually about to be released in the coming weeks. So hopefully that's given everyone a good overview of our new scent delivery system and combining it with other types of stimulation. I'm going to hand back over to Brenda, see if we've got time for some questions. So Brenda.
All right, Yeah, thanks, Frazer. That is a lot of information and a lot of demo prep that you did. So thank you for doing all of that. And if you can hear my dog in the background, I apologize. He's trying to get into the into the room here. Okay, so we don't have time for a lot of questions, and there's several questions that were like technical, maybe too technical for here, but we will answer those questions in a follow-up email, or we'll reach out to you. Like one of them is, what kind of plastic is used? Do you happen to know the type of plastic or tubing that's used, or plastic used in the tubing?
We do. The tubing that's used is used for pulmonary studies. So it's, you know, medical grade tubing. We've got all the information on the website under that. I think the part number for the tubing is AFT12.
Okay, okay, maybe I'll actually show that web page too. So, okay, so then
Actually, Brenda, I think, can I just back up? One thing I want to mention as well, we've tested a lot of the plastics and the stuff that's coming into contact with these scents to see what kind of memory there is. We're not detecting significant memory. In other words, the scents aren't lingering. But if you're using the same scents over and over, if you use the same scent in the tube, that one tube, there should be no cross-contamination of scents. The point where you could get some cross-contamination is actually at the manifold itself, and we don't detect any memory there in all the testing we've done. So I don't think there's going to be an issue with cross-contamination, if that's where that question was coming from.
It was. And can you clean the tubing and the modules, and how have you tested all of that to understand how those scents linger, or memory is the word that you used?
Yeah. So yes, you can clean all the tubing. The tubing is not expensive either. It's a consumable. It's, you know, like I said, it's a medical grade pulmonary tubing circuit, so it's easy to replace that. We always have it in inventory. The actual point where the scent is coming out, the manifold itself, those are relatively inexpensive. But as I said, there's no memory there. They can be washed. We've got cleaning instructions and everything for all of this stuff as well.
Okay. Great. So, okay, you already talked about VR. So yes, you can use this in VR. You can't have a virtual scent though in VR, right? It still has to be a real scent through the system, or
Yeah, I mean, that we're delivering real world
sense. Yeah.
to the virtual world.
But I don't know how that would work. Okay. And then research applications in terms of rodents and animals, does this work in that area as well?
You know, it doesn't, the scent doesn't care what the participant looks like or what species they are. And you can, as I demonstrated through the software, you can control the intensity of the scent and the rate it's delivered. So, you know, working with animals will not be a problem.
All right, let me just check here and see if there's any other questions that came in a sec. Okay, so then, you know, this is more of a comment, but, you know, can you use this person? This is maybe a longer conversation, Tamaz. It's how to use biometrics and food taste studies to predict consumer choice. The equipment can be used for that, but that's a more involved type of answer, right, Frazer?
Well, yeah, but I think the presentation that we gave, although it wasn't a truly scientific study, it was just more a proof of concept. And it gives you an idea of how easy it is to synchronize any biometrical data, physiological data with the stimulation that's being delivered, whether that be scent delivery, whether that be visual, whether that be thermal. I mean, there's all manner of different types of stimulation, and as long as you know the precise point when the stimuli were presented to the participant, it's easy to tie any responses back to that particular stimuli.
Okay, great. Well, I will show my screen here. I have some closing comments. Thank you again for answering those questions. So I just want to show you on our website. This is the web page, and we do, if you scroll down, you'll find the spec document here in the PDF. I'm not going to download it now. I just want to show you where it is. Also, as we collect and provide additional technical information, we may update this document. We also may provide additional information down here. So do check that out. I do want to share with everyone that we have live and on-demand events available on our website. So you just go to our homepage and then you click live and on-demand events on this tab right here. We have over 70 webinars that we've recorded over the years, and there's great information in here, and it's free for you to watch. So I encourage you to go onto the site and find out what you need to learn. Of course, we have a great support team that will help you as well, but it's great to have these options here. There's a lot of stuff, you know, how to record EDA data, fundamentals of physiology data recording. There's a bunch for facial coding and facial EMG and eye tracking, and you know, the list goes on and on. So take advantage of those online presentations. To get to our support team, you just click right here, and you can email us at support@biopac.com. And if you want to contact a salesperson, I like to tell people you can just scroll down here. Contact my rep is Amy, because I'm in California, but wherever you are, this will display the regional representative or the company that's handling sales and account management for us in your country. So this is a great resource for you, but the support team really does a great job, and support is free as long as you have the current version of our software. If you need like custom scripts written, that's like a different situation, but certainly take advantage of our support team. They're here to help. Okay, so let me get back to my slides here. One moment. I just have a couple of things that I want to share. So we already talked, so thank you, Frazer, for answering those questions. We already talked about the webinars. Our next webinar is actually going to be on virtual reality. We have a series of virtual reality webinars that we recorded about a year ago, year and a half, I think. And the next one is going to be about biofeedback and training. If you're interested in media psychology, I thought this would be a good webinar for you to watch on demand as well. Okay, so I don't see, let me just check one more time and make sure there wasn't any last minute questions that came in. Okay, yes, you will receive a recording of the webinar. We'll email everybody out tomorrow. All right, well, I think that's a wrap. We'll email you a link of the recording, the Q&A. We'll follow up with a Q&A document as well as the slides. When you close the webinar window, you'll see a survey. We'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. You can visit BIOPAC for additional references, including screencasts, application notes, step-by-step instructions, and other videos. All right, Frazer, anything else before we conclude?
No, that's it pretty much. I guess there was one thing that I did think to mention. You know, for the presentation we gave, it's very easy to include face reader for facial coding or facial EMG as well. I just elected not to do that to streamline the demonstration a little bit, but you know, that would give you valence and arousal measures from your participants, so it's easy to bring that information in.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for attending. Thank you, Frazer, so much for all of the work that you did to provide today's presentation and training. So have a great rest of your day, everyone. This concludes today's webinar.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.